afternoon, everyone. Maybe good morning for those who are in the other side of UTC time. My name is Famara. I'm the program officer for AFSA, the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. I'm a Senegalese and based in Senegal. So we are very happy you are joining this session on seeds, especially on farmer managed seed system in Africa. So we are going to talk about what are the different solutions and struggle that the African Farmers Organization, together with civil society organization, are trying to do to work on in order to preserve seed sovereignty in Africa, to preserve biodiversity, and also to resist the seed takeover from corporate in Africa. So before we start our session, which has 4 panelists, the 4th one will join us very probably, we hope so. So before we start it, I would like to introduce you and tell you a bit about AFSA in a maximum of 5 minutes. So AFSA stands for the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa. It's a network of networks comprised by various types of civil society organization, farmers organization, indigenous people organization, faith-based organization, consumer group in all over Africa. So the members are networks. And the fight or the purpose of AFSA is to put on the table or do some policy advocacy for sustainable food system in Africa, if I can call it so. And in terms of working process, our members have designed maybe 4 working group or 4 thematic area. There is the one about land. We are talking about land management in general, not only land grabbing, but land management to have the best soil possible for farming and any other agriculture with big A purpose, including pastoralism and wild harvest. This is the first working group or thematic area, land. We have the climate group, which is trying to give a position what agroecology can bring into the climate crisis in general. The second one. The third one is about nutrition and citizen. We are trying to put on the table to advocate for good policy in terms of nutrition, not only food, but the best nutrition. And the 4th working group or thematic area which AFSA is working on is about seed. So if you see what AFSA is doing, AFSA is proposing agroecological solution towards those 4 thematic areas. So as a policy advocacy group or alliance, of course, in one hand, we are trying to fight what we think is not good for the farming system in Africa, which is mainly family farming system. In one hand, we fight against it. And in the other hand, we try to give solution, African-driven solution. So our theory of change is based on also 4 pillars. The first one is that we are doing a lot of research so that our narrative is enough documented. After the research, we do some capacity building or movement. We do some movement building, bring people together to be a big umbrella. We educate them. And finally, we do the policy advocate. These are the 4 pillars of our theory of change. And that's the same we are doing also when we are working in a thematic area. For instance, in the seed issue, we do lots of research. We build the capacity of our members and other allies in the continent. we build a movement to come together and give our narrative. And finally, we go to policy advocacy. And our policy advocacy, we use any event, any global event that are created both by the United Nations or the African Union or country level or regional, I will say regional, is regional economic cluster. We have 5 of them in Africa. So we use those space, we send our members to go to advocate for what we want. So this is more or less what is AFSA. And for today's session, as I said, we have 4 speakers. One of them is Jean-Paul Sikeli. He's from Ivory Coast, West Africa. He's a lawyer by training, and he has done a lot of work against GMO. His organization is called CAPAGEN, the African Coalition to Protect Our Genetic Heritage, one of them. And the second one, and Jean-Paul will tell us how the civil society has struggled or has resisted against the biosafety law, which was trying to open the GMO circulation in the continent of West Africa. The second one is Dr. Sungalo. He's from Burkina Faso, also West Africa. And in Burkina Faso, he will tell us how at country level they have worked to improve the seed law so that it will recognize farmer managed seed system, so that it will recognize or it will strengthen how the biodiversity could be supported by the government. Then we'll go to Dr. Fasil from Ethiopia and working for the African Biodiversity Network. Dr. Fasil has done a lot of work in terms of intergenerational knowledge, and they have a focus on seeds. He has trained some school. They have documented a lot of issues about seed in the continent, not only in East Africa, but they also work in West Africa and Southern Africa. And this experience, he will share with us how they are resisting the industrial seed system using youth, using schools, and so on and so on. And finally, we'll have Bright Philly from FastNet, Farm Save Seed Network from Malawi, and he will also tell us how the farmer managed seed system are resisting the seed industry in Southern Africa. Those are our speakers, and also what is AFSA. So I will leave the space to Jean-Paul Sikeli for 7 to 10 minutes to tell us how they've been working against the biosafety. Thank you for your attention. Jean-Paul, have the floor.
Bonjour, est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Hello everyone, can you hear me? Hello everyone,
Yes.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Jean-Paul Sikeli. As has been said by Famara, I am from Ivory Coast. I am a lawyer by trade. I'm the actual General Secretary of CAPAGEN. It is the Coalition for the Development of the Genetic Capital of It is a multi-stakeholder organization made up of farmers organizations, consumer rights, human rights, labor unions, and CAPAGEN is present in 9 countries. So the EUMA space plus Guinea. We fight to protect the African genetic heritage, which is being threatened by takeovers. The one that, as we've identified, is a natural resource grabbing by transnational, and the first resource is the land, and then the biodiversity resources. We also promote family agriculture, family farms, the one that feeds 70 to 80% of the world population, and of course, pharmacies and agroecology. These are our main pillars of intervention. I would like to thank all the people who've participating in this panel, because for me, it's really an opportunity to present the work that we are carrying out at CAPAGEN. One of the works we've carried out during these years So this is a short overview of the participation of the CAPAGEN, because we participated in a process that is actually being carried out, started in 2006, and that is not finished yet because there are still some steps to be carried out. We have participated in order to promote the aspirations of the farming communities in this document. This is a community regulation, and we participated in the elaboration of it in order to present, also to showcase the actions that we've carried out and the results that we've been able to achieve, and also the points that we have not been able to achieve or are still yet to be achieved. So the overview of the participation of CAPAGEN and civil society in this process. We need to look at all the political measures, administrative and legal, and even scientific and community-based, that try to reduce and minimize the GMO risk linked to GMOs. So the idea is to use GMOs in a safe manner. So this is the finality that is associated with biosecurity. So UEMOA, they have unified their forces in order to define, to organize themselves at regional level. So we have been able to speak about this regulation and what are the struggles that we are leading, and the satisfaction points and the points that are still to be taken over based on our claims. As I said earlier, CAPAGEN is fighting against GMOs. Before we even talk about biosecurity, we need to be clear on that. We fight against GMOs. The first point is that GMOs lead to poverty in farming communities, because GMOs cause dependency of smallholders regarding the seed producers. Also, the research in modern biotechnology, and of course the seed farmers, they want to have a return on investment, so they put copyrights on the seeds they develop, and so the farmers are forced to buy their seeds from the seeding companies, and they have no possibilities of sharing seeds among them or multiplying seeds among them or selecting seeds. So GMO seeds are sold with a technological package on top of the fact that the GMO seed is much more expensive than the normal seeds. These products, what we call the technology package that comes with the GMOs, it leads to higher costs for the producers. And to illustrate it, CAPAGEN has carried out a study on the BT cotton, that is a GMO cotton that was produced in 2003, and we did a comparative study between the profitability of standard cotton seeds and BT cotton seeds, and we realized that the cost of farming with BT cotton was up to 3 times more expensive, even though it's the same product. So it's not a profitable thing. But Monsanto is always advancing the fact that BT cotton is more profitable, and they were saying that the yields were going to be higher, which was not the case in our study. And so they were claiming that this was going to have an effect on the revenue streams and on the living conditions of the farmers. But the study documented that the bottom line was that these seeds did not meet the promises that Monsanto had made. So this was a failure, at least in Burkina Faso. This is how we've been able to document that. The other result regarding GMOs is that GMOs also impoverish the communities socially and culturally, socially and economically. So the GMOs impoverish the farming communities. And how does that happen? There is another level of analysis on this impoverishment. It is a very subtle and silent impoverishment. Via their copyright system, they organize the pillage of the resources in Africa and of the traditional know-hows and knowledges that are linked to these traditional agricultural system. So here we use copyright law in order to hide the theft of genetic resources and the legitimacy. It is basically the legalization, the officialization of the rape of biodiversity across the world and the what our friend Pat Mooney called biopiracy. It is the piracy of the resource in itself. And on top of that is all the associated knowledges that are stolen by the system. And so those who lose most are the producers, the indigenous peoples, the communities, the grassroots community who live in the rural areas, while the transnationals grab most of the resources. So that's why CAPAGEN since 2004 is fighting against GMOs. So we've taken the opportunity to participate in this biosecurity process. We had a debate on should we participate on this process or should we refuse to participate? But we said if we do not participate in the debates, then the GMO defenders will be the one winning. So we said, let's go there in order to have our voice heard and to hear the aspirations of the communities, the interest of the farmers. So these are the major steps of our popular mobilization. In 2008, for instance, we had a first historical march organized by CAPAGEN against GMOs in numerous cities of Burkina Faso. In 2015, we widened the alliance. We called them the international resistance meetings. We did, we marched and there were marches in Europe in order to fight and to denounce the GMOs. Then we managed to publish our study on the BT cotton under the title. And this study, a farmer's study, was carried out by the farmers themselves in the field to do a comparative study between BT cotton and conventional cotton in order to compare the two and to show. And we realized that BT cotton was absolutely useless compared to conventional cotton. And the officials in Burkina Faso in 2014, they concluded that BT cotton was a failure in Burkina Faso and they suspended the discrimination. In 2018, there was another march, a worldwide march against GMOs in a global manner, but specifically against the genetically modified mosquitoes. As you know, at the moment, the fight against malaria which is carried out by a certain number of transnational organizations, is being contested in Burkina Faso. And in 2018, we marched against this government project to introduce genetically modified mosquitoes in our country. So these are our struggles we have been carrying out over the past years. Now, let's talk about the biosecurity process in itself. I'm not going to talk too much in detail because we started this in 2006, but the main stages are in 2008. The regional biosecurity process was implemented in 3 institutions at the community levels that are. Jean-Paul, you only got 2-3 minutes left. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
7 minutes per panelist, donc
it's 7 minutes. You only got 3 minutes left. Sorry. Okay, I'm going to. Regarding the biosafety process, the overview, what we have learned, we've been able to achieve a certain number of points on the community norm, is that we were able, in the preamble, there was a mention of the risks linked to the GMOs, because the community standards were absolutely not alluding at all or even referring to any risk linked to GMOs. So we've been able to reintroduce that in the document. We've also been able to introduce some orientation marks on the principle is that the polluter is a payer. Before, this principle was not mentioned in the document. This was important, and we were able to hold this. Another point is that we've been able to take into the fact that we've been able to have a clear labeling of all the GMOs products or GMO containing products, which was not clear before. And we've been able to achieve some certification, also the certification of the risk linked to the GMOs, because at the beginning they only dealt with the scientific aspects, and we managed to add the socio-economical aspects to this. So this is also something we managed to introduce. Now, the points on which we're not able to achieve satisfaction is we ask that be taken into account the absolutely unalterable right of communities to choose to live in GMO-free regions. And this unalterable right is inscribed in the base law of the African Union on biosecurity, basically guaranteeing the right for communities to live in GMO-free zones, which was not something we managed to implement. And the second thing I want to insist on is that we asked that there be legal mitigation procedures against damages caused by GMOs. So after a certain type, there is it's been asked that there be no that the legal process cannot become invalid after a certain time. So this is what we wanted to achieve, the same for the GMOs, and we were not been able to achieve this. So globally, sorry, we haven't got much time. So it's a 50-50 overview. We achieved a certain number of things within this process, but regarding the communities protection, but we have not been able to achieve other things that are more important. So this is what I could say on the biosecurity process, but we continue to work on this process because we want our voice to be heard and our points of view be taken into account. So this is what I can say, and I wanted to thank you for the opportunity you've given me, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jean-Paul Sikeli. So you can note down your question for the question and answer later. If you recall, there are three steps or three parts in his presentation. What they have been doing since they started their work as CAPAGEN. And the second part of his presentation is about what are their successes, for what they are satisfied of. And the last part of his presentation is about the remaining work to be done. So thank you very much, Jean-Paul Sikeli. Now we are going to Dr. Sulama Sungalo, who will tell us what is happening at country level. Jean-Paul told us about the regional level, West Africa, how they are working. Now we'll take the case study of how Burkina Faso is strengthening Burkina Faso. Dr. Sulama.
Oui, merci. Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Thank you. Can you hear me? Thank you. I'm Mr. Sulama Sugalo. I'm a research fellow at the Institute of Environment and Agricultural Research. I'm also working in a national committee for plant health resources management, including peasant seeds. So this is what I do. My area is plant ecology and plant biology. In this committee, I was able to get in touch with the seeds issue. I understood the stakes of peasant seeds, so I would like to share my experience in Burkina. The logics of the seeds industry, which are very violent in Africa, is this. The seeds industry uses a lot of technological means to create GM varieties, as Jean-Paul said earlier. Those seeds were created, but their yield depends on a number of technologies. For example, agrochemical inputs, which has consequences on the environment, on soils, on waters, on the health of men and populations. So because of multinational corporations, seeds that were up to then a common good became commodified. So they started grabbing the genetic heritage in order to limit or forbid the free exchange of peasant seeds. They started privatizing some sorts of seeds manufactured by the industry. These are all actions carried out by the seeds industry. Farmers are therefore pushed out of seeds production. Peasant seeds are no longer included in this new system. They are not longer seen as seeds. They can be used in a specific context, but they cannot be sold in a broad market. They don't have the same status because they are not seen as industrial seeds. So if we let this kind of thing happen, peasants will gradually become buyers of seeds. The objective of the seeds industry and of multinational corporations is to build and to maintain a series of industrial seeds dominated by multinational interests. Today, they dominate the production of commercial seeds, biotechnologies, and the production of pesticides. We can talk about Bayer and Monsanto that merged to create even more concentration. And they work in a lot of areas. In addition to seeds, water, chemicals, in order to master the whole production process. Same situation with China that merged with Syngenta. The farming policy in Africa is dominated by these interests. So peasant seeds are not recognized by formal policies. These are systems seen as outdated. So peasant seeds are not in a good place. In Africa, there are two different seed systems that coexist. There's a formal one promoted by the state, by trade, and by the industry, including the seeds industry. This system is purely commercial. These are improved seeds, including GM seeds. Now we should add something here. When you look at Burkina, the state still has a nationalist approach, but because of the push of regulations of the West African community of states, ECOWAS, governments are going to move to regulations that will promote industrial seeds. Now, the second system, the peasant system, it's called informal, but it is used by 80% of the population. So the informal system is actually the most widely used system. That's the irony. This system is promoted by small farmers, by peasant farmers, and this system is being pushed back, which is a shame in this context in Africa, where 80% of the population lives off agriculture. You can understand the catastrophe that this will create in our countries. The seeds system, this notion is purely political. It translates the way men are organized over time and over space to use seeds. This should integrate the interactions between different actors, cultures, production modes, processing modes, and consumption modes, and their impact on the environment and on social inequalities. If we don't take these into account, we do not understand the seed systems, and our action can lead to injustice. We need to understand what happens, but we should also act efficiently. The seeds systems are a part of the food system. You cannot de-link them. Seeds are the gateway to agriculture and to food. The food system is always an addition of local and global stakes. It can create external and negative externalities such as hunger, world hunger. Technology can create overproduction, but a part of the population suffers from hunger. So it's not a good system because we have all the technologies to feed everyone, but some people are still suffering from hunger. So if the food system is a good one, it should be rooted in the territory. It should make sure that the positive effects of global issues are felt. For example, reduction in greenhouse gases, biodiversity conservation, the preservation of know-hows. This is what we recommend as a system that could save humanity. So peasant seeds are an integral part of agroecology and of the system that could save humanity and feed humanity without destroying it. This is our perspective. Otherwise, we are doomed. We compared these two seeds system in Africa. The peasant seed system has advantages that the industrial system doesn't have. If we look at social equality, peasant seeds benefit small farmers, family farming, which means 80% of the African population. If you look at industrial systems, it's mostly big farmers, industrial farmers, commercial farming. We cannot move towards such a system and close our eyes on the other system without creating social inequalities. Now let's talk about biodiversity preservation. With peasant seeds, there's polyculture that once again creates more biodiversity. There's also the adaptation to the local conditions with resilient seeds. In terms of knowledge, peasant seeds integrate peasant knowledge in selection, storage, and conservation. Everything is taken into account in this peasant system, which is not the case in the industrial system. It is only when we talk about the quality insurance, when you say that peasant seeds are not qualitative. This is because we do not judge with the same parameters, because there are advantages to the peasant seeds system that the other one doesn't have. So we should research this system to highlight the qualities of these seeds. The peasant system is very dynamic. It creates more knowledge for the whole society, while the industrial system is a system whereby technologies are patented and do not benefit the population as a whole. So we need to act in favor of the peasant seeds system. This is what we call the chooser's paradox. The death of the peasant seeds system creates the death of the industrial seeds system. The prime material is the peasant system. We should accept that it played a historical part, and it should continue playing a part. Climate change is still rife today. So we need peasant seeds to adapt and to have more resilient populations and for sovereignty of the peoples and
Dr.
of their
Sulama,
cultures.
il y a une minute.
You have 1 more minute. To conclude, we must act to influence local and regional policies in the name of food security in Africa. Peasant seeds should have their rightful place. So we need better communication for peasant seeds. We need to register them and to create specific catalogs. Burkina is already more advanced than a lot of African countries. We have a regulation on seeds, and some of their articles recognize peasant seeds. There's also another regulation on seeds that was enacted in 2019 on access and sharing the advantages of peasant seeds. This law that has just been enacted has effects on peasants' rights. Finally, the National Committee for Plant Genetics in Burkina works together with the civil society, which is a great momentum. It could inspire other African states. We would like this example not to be ignored by the industry. We would like peasants to to be happier because they will create a healthier
Thank
nation.
you. Thank you. Very, very passionate, Mr. Dr. Sulama. Thank you very much. My takeaway from his presentation is that the death of farmer managed seed system is the death of industrial seed system. And also he said that the food system is, the seeds are a link of the general food system and we need to preserve it. In Burkina Faso, they have started to incorporate farmer managed seed system, biodiversity, and to support farmer managed seed system in general in their seed law. So he's calling to other countries, to other platform, regional platform, continental platform, to support what Burkina Faso is doing. Otherwise, the industrial seed system, the corporate, will kill it inside the egg, if I can call it so. They will kill the small bird inside the egg before it comes to life. So this is a way to do the transition to Dr. Fasil, who will take it from what he said, culture, the food, when Dr. Solomon said, a good food system is the one which is rooted to its community. And Dr. Fasil, all his work is about seed, culture, and intergenerational knowledge. Dr. Fasil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Famara, and thank you for both presenters. It's fascinating. In fact, as Famara, as you have said, mine is more linked with the presentation from Dr. Soloma. I'm working. My name is Fasil. I'm working for African Biodiversity Network as a general coordinator. The African Biodiversity Network is a network, a regional network of like-minded individuals and civil society organizations who share common values and vision. The network is working individually or through organizations and alliances on biodiversity-related rights, policy and legislation, and supporting viable ways forward for a diverse livelihood system. Mine will be, in fact, an overview of intergenerational education in relation to also policy issues. In fact, it's linked with, as I said, with what Dr. Soloma have explained. Because, in fact, I mean, we have got, in fact, before I get into that, we have got three main thematic focuses. One is community ecological governance, in which we promote and support community governance on their livelihood issues and management of their territory since ancestral times. There are lots of integrated knowledge in that. And the other thematic area is community seed and knowledge. For us, I mean, we believe, in fact, I mean, communities, for community seed is not just like for consumption per se. It has an element of sacredness. It has an element of mediation between the material and the spiritual world. It has an element of nutrition, economy, whatever, and culture and practices, including rituals. So, I mean, seed is a multifaceted purpose for life in the community perspective. So the other one is use, culture, and biodiversity. In fact, what the previous presenter was mentioned about the gap in understanding of seed is really, in fact, resonate in users' understanding in particular, because the education system has been the one that is disintegrating the use behavior and acts, not only about seed, but even the use perception in terms of the environment and the integrity is really concerning. So with this use, culture, and biodiversity thematic focus, we are dealing with that. And in fact, I mean, we have got this advocacy and networking as a cross-cutting area of work. As I said that, I will briefly go to our way of looking into intergenerational education. In fact, not only on seed, but in biodiversity in general. As you all know, that education has an element of shaping people's behaviors and perspective and understanding. Both formal and non-formal education is playing an important role in shaping people's way of life. The reason why our people, especially are behaving like too much disintegrated is because of the education, the type of education that they receive, because of the training, the type of training they got, because there is a little that they have been taught about integrated way of life and practical life skills when it comes to modern education. So this is for us is concerning. So we are trying to, in collaboration with our partners all over the region, we are trying to fill this gap and bring back the behavioral change through different approaches and practical engagements. When it comes to seed issues in particular, we all know that farmer seeds have been locally available since centuries through multiplication by smallholder farmers in different agroclimatic zones. They have got this adaptability and they have got these socio-cultural elements and embedded with the hearts and emotions of the community. It's not just about material, but also more like emotional and spiritual connections there. But luckily, in fact, because of their diversity, because of also their adaptability, because of practicality that this modern world, these seed companies, even though they are not explicit, but since recent past, especially from the research world, there has been increasingly recognition for seed diversities in relation to their nutritional value and climate adaptability. So it's an advantage, especially in a situation like that of sub-Saharan Africa, where rural areas account for about 70% of population in the 2040 of GDP. The role of smallholder culture and seed diversity in general farmer managed systems remains significant. But a number of regulatory documents, proclamations, directives, and strategies are developed to favor the private sector, as we all know. And then on the other hand, farmer seeds in African countries have significant role to play in sustaining productivity, even in a situation where they are not supported by policy. Countries like Ethiopia, for example, where farmer seed managed seed systems accounts 80 to 90% and constitutes about 45% of the land mass, even in the north part of the country alone. This is really significant, and which shows any development plan, any intervention into agriculture needs to consider farmers' view, and they need to farmers' input and knowledge and contribution. But the fact that this is not the case. Much attention has been given from the government and the formal seed sector. Much attention has been given in policy support has been given to promote high-yielding varieties under formal seed system. And under this scenario, most governments' approach towards agriculture pushes particularly young people to migrate to towns and other places seeking for jobs. So when it comes to our approach in relation to reverse or mitigate the situation, we've got some methodologies. In one, we call it Back to Root program. As the name itself indicates that, I mean, we need we promote the use to also relate what they have learned in the classroom into the practical way of life. So they need to get back to their root and relate their learning with practices. So young people in this approach are taken to rural villages to learn about how people in rural areas are knowledgeable, different from their expectation, from the students, how they are living together in harmony with nature, and then how they produce their own food with knowledge on seed, soil, and pest management, and also knowledge about nutrition management, planting diversities, soil and water conservation, and also making some artifacts in relation to making clothes from natural sources, and then houses and then household farming tools, and all of these things, and also visit the historical sites, cultural, environmental heritage, and ask people, connect with elders, and participate in rituals and farming practices and all these things. This is kind of inspirational and then practical engagement for youth to complement what they have learned in colleges or in high schools. So there is a mechanism for them to discuss, to engage later, write about it, share with their peers, and and we organize also different events for them to have a peer kind of review and discussion. Another approach is nature experiential learning. Under this approach, our partners, in collaboration with our secretariat, take young people into natural places, including in the wilderness and or protected forested sites, depending on the situation. So they gain an awareness of nature, explore personal issues, and then they have a solitary time. They learn team building, discussion, passion, and conflict resolution system, observation, all these things in nature. And they also teach. They've got lessons from mentors, elders, the life skills and leadership in the behavior of nature, animals, and plants. In fact, the main mentors here and guide to this kind of skill are knowledgeable people, wise people, and elders and farmers. And another approach is celebration, annual celebration mostly, or biannual celebration in some cases. So our partners in West Africa, Southern and Eastern Africa have been encouraged, they've supported young people through their community-based organizations to document the wide variety of knowledge associated with their local biodiversity and celebrate their findings periodically. In these celebrations, they usually invite government officials, media, and other stakeholders to showcase their work on seeds throughout the year in agriculture and conservation of biodiversity. So this has been promoted in locally, nationally, and even regionally. We link this kind of activity through documentation, through films, through publication, brochure, whatever, promote all over the region to influence policy. They also, in these celebrations, showcase their collection made from herbarium specimens of important local plants, together with their local names and uses stories, as well as document rich knowledge of local medicinal plants. And young people also encouraged to make medicinal plants and other vegetable gardens in school compounds and in their own compounds, depending on their availability of spaces in their respective homes. And this has led to work with traditional healers and indigenous people because of the joint work that they are doing. They are very much collaborative and create this intimacy one another and build trust one another. So elders started to open up to speak about their stories and knowledge without being shy. And also they receive also the scenario from the modern world, from their children also.
Fasil, Dr. Fasil, you have 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
So, and the students also collect samples of local seed varieties and their different uses, and the resulting documents used to justify, celebrate integrity of the traditional practices. So documentation also assists in developing improved holistic systems of agricultural production based on agro biodiversity. So, and there are also capacity building and practical trainings. So young people are from schools and out of school are invited to attend different events and have been given agroecological trainings, compost making, soil and water conservation techniques, and water harvesting, whatever, and seed multiplication. So I think some lessons from these smallholder farmers should be the one who should be invited in development and practical sessions in government planning. And elders and knowledgeable people should be invited to provide mentorship in schools and in other scenarios, and in various forms of trainings and capacity building opportunities, practical trainings and engagement should be organized for young people. And the stool teaching approach should be accompanied by practical sessions in farm fields and natural sites. Yeah, anyway, I should stop there because even though I haven't finished, but I think, and government should also establish a mechanism by which there will be a clear direction and guidance regarding sustainable sector for farmer managed systems. Thank you very much. I'm just rushing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fasil. I think you have deepened what Dr. Sulama was saying. And I think the key message is that when youth are not educated according to their roots, their value, and so on, when they will be the decision-making level, yes, they will take decisions that are not rooted to where they are coming from. And also you are appealing for a campaign for, yes, to promote farmer managed seed system, because behind the seeds is not only just a simple thing, it's a being behind, a lot of culture behind. And for those campaigns and to implement farmer managed seed system, the government should also be involved in developing some program, not only civil society work. So this is in general what we have to share with you, listener, attendees. And yes, we are 5 minutes ahead the time, so we can open the floor for anyone who have questions, comments, and so on, for maybe 5 minutes, depending to the availability of our interpreters. Thank you very much, Fasil, Dr. Sulama, and Jean-Paul. You can keep waiting for if you have questions or something like that.